Blitz.
Yeah.
So explain where we are with Blitz, because it's cinema and then it's streaming.
Yes. So basically, this is coming to Apple Plus in a couple of weeks. It was the opening film at the LFF. This is the new film by Steve McQueen, Turner Prize-winning British artist behind Hunger, Shame, 12 Years a Slave. The first black filmmaker.
He mentioned it a couple of times when he came in to talk about his movie about the Dutch resistance.
To talk about Occupied City. Yeah, absolutely.
We made a couple of references to Blitz, so we know a little bit about it.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's having a relatively limited theatrical release at the moment. I think that theatrical release widens out in the next week or so, and then it comes to Apple TV Plus. So this is written and directed by McQueen. It's a World War II drama with a difference. It's the film set during the Nazi bombardment of London, but it centers on the people on the ground, specifically a single mother, Rita, played by Saoirse Ronan, and her young son, George, who's played by Elliot Heffernan, who's a screen newcomer. Rita lives with her dad, Gerald, who is played in wonderfully understated fashion by somebody who I was half the way through the film before I went, that's Paul Weller. I mean, it's a brilliant bit of casting because...
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's yeah, exactly. It's so
Paul
much
Weller?
So,
Him out the Jam?
Him out
and the Style Council?
So much so that I'm not making this up, I was halfway through the film before it clicked that that's who it was. Anyway, so Rita works at a factory. She's also a singer. She broadcasts on the radio at one point, which is something that really did happen from factories. Then George is told that he has to be evacuated, and he doesn't want to be evacuated, and he particularly doesn't want to be separated from his mum. Here's a clip.
Why can't you come with me?
Sweetheart, I told you it's an adventure for children only. Grown-ups not allowed. But it's going to be great. You're going to make new friends.
My friends already are.
Yeah, well, you play games in the countryside. That'd be nice. There'll be cows and there'll be horses.
But they smell. I want to stay with you.
Yeah, I know.
But of course he can't, so he gets evacuated. But when he's on the train going to wherever he's going to, he jumps off the train and starts a long journey back to bombed out London. So the film's got 12A certificate, and it's definitely intended to be viewable by younger audiences. I spoke to Steve McQueen about this. I know it came up in your conversation as well, but it is definitely a film that is aimed at you don't have to be a kid, but it is absolutely aimed at a young audience as well. It had a bit of a Children's Film Foundation feel to me, and I don't say that as a criticism, because we live in a world in which most films for 12-year-olds are Marvel superhero movies nowadays. And it was really good to see something that was actually aimed at a younger audience that wasn't franchise fodder. And on the one hand, it's a boy's own story, a kind of incredible adventure that happens to involve racism, violence, and extreme peril. It's got very big production values. There's a scene very early on in which a plane crashes into a building, which is kind of there to say, this is, you're going to get spectacle as well as everything else. I mean, it is a gripping adventure. It wrestles with a lot of complicated issues, and it is a rattling yarn and often very moving. Again, not without flaws. There is a section in which it literally seems like George has stepped out of a war film into a Dickens pastiche. And I think that section kind of borders on the untenable, because it seems to be kind of parodic and overstated. But there are also some brilliant scenes. There's scenes of people, going into the tube stations during the bombings, being shut out of the tube stations during the bombings. There's one scene in which there's a flood of water, and it's filmed like a terrifying action sequence. It's really, really nail biting. It helps that Saoirse Ronan never puts a foot wrong. She's a very believable presence. I think some people might think, because you think about Steve McQueen's pedigree, you might think it's McQueen light, but I do think that in an age in which 12-year-olds are basically expected to just have superhero fodder, it is a breath of fresh air, because it isn't that. As I said, not without flaws, but its heart is solidly in the right place. And I compare it to the Children's Film Foundation, and I mean that as a compliment.
What's Paul Weller's character called? Is he George?
No, Paul Weller's character is the dad.
Is the dad?
Yeah.
And does he, during the bombing, does he go down in the tube station at midnight?
I knew you were...
When he's going underground,
Oh, why didn't I do all these jokes? Why didn't I do them all? Well, here's the thing. He hasn't acted before, but at least this is a start.
Okay, there's a whole. If only I'd seen the film and had been ahead of the case.
But also it is like I said, it is true that most 12 certificate movies are superhero movies. But hey, this is the modern world.